Hey, stories of the Soul fam. We've got a swoon-worthy love story for you today. Let's jump in and tell us, if there's one truth about life, it's this. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change everything. For Melody Hart, kindness wasn't just an instinct, it was survival. On what was supposed to be her very first day at her dream job, a single clumsy moment in the lobby of Stamford Enterprise would start a chain of events that would alter her future forever. And it all began with spilled coffee, sign language, and a millionaire who rarely smiled. If there had been an award for worst first day at work in corporate history, Melody was sure she would have won it. She had walked into Stamford Enterprise with trembling hands clutching her purse and a cheap cup of coffee, determined to look professional. Instead, she ended up flying through the revolving door like a comic strip character. Papers scattered across the marble lobby floor, her coffee splattered in every direction, and her flat shoe's heel snapped like it was mocking her. The senior receptionist, Sandra, didn't even bother hiding her smirk. She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, as if enjoying free entertainment. Melody flushed crimson, picking up the damp pages of her resume while muttering to herself, "Great start, Mel. Real graceful." When she finally made it to the reception desk, her badge refused to scan. The chair creaked like it might collapse. Her cheap blazer had developed a wrinkle she couldn't smooth out. She looked less like a receptionist and more like a nervous extra who stumbled into the wrong film set. But then something unexpected happened. A man in an elegant suit walked up to the desk, but instead of speaking, his hands began to move. Smooth, practiced gestures filled the air. The lobby fell silent. Sandra raised an eyebrow, scoffed, and said too loudly, "Sir, I don't understand what you're doing. This isn't a street performance. This is reception." The man froze, his face falling, his hands lowered as though weighted with shame. Melody's heart thudded. She knew those gestures. Her grandmother had been deaf, and signing had been their secret language of love. Though rusty, Melody's fingers remembered. Before the man could retreat, Melody stood, palms sweating, and signed back. The man's expression transformed. Relief, gratitude, even joy. He signed back quickly, and Melody translated aloud for Sandra, who was now turning red. "He has a meeting with the partnerships department. He just wanted to confirm the contact's name." The entire lobby had stopped to watch, but someone else was watching too. From the executive gallery, Blake Stanford, the elusive millionaire CEO of Stamford Enterprise, leaned on the railing. He was known for his genius, for revolutionizing technology, for his cold precision. He rarely smiled. He rarely even looked. But in that moment, unseen by anyone below, his lips curved, just slightly. For the first time in months, he smiled, and Melody had no idea. Back in his glass-walled office high above Manhattan, Blake's expression returned to stone, though his mind had not. "Will," he said to his assistant without turning from the skyline, "I want a full report on the new receptionist." Will blinked. "Sir, the receptionist?" "Everything. Name, education, background, and find out where she learned sign language." The assistant hesitated. Blake's gaze flicked toward him, sharp as a blade. That was enough. Will nodded and left. Blake Stanford didn't believe in coincidences. He believed in patterns, in purpose. And something about that shy young woman, stumbling through the lobby yet stepping forward with unexpected courage, had caught him in a way he couldn't explain. Day 2. Melody gave herself a pep talk in the bathroom mirror. No tripping, no flying through doors, no turning into the company clown. Today I'll be invisible, competent, professional. That promise lasted exactly 3 hours and 42 minutes. It began with the coffee machine at reception refusing to work. Sandra groaned, rolling her eyes. "This stupid thing again. Guess I'll have to trek up to the executive floor if I want real coffee." "I can go," Melody offered, desperate to be useful. Sandra snorted. "You? Sweetheart, people on that floor are worth more than your entire existence. Don't embarrass yourself." But Melody was determined. "I'll prove I can do something right." She balanced a tray of 4 coffees in her hands as the elevator climbed smoothly toward the top floors. She even began to feel a flicker of confidence. "Look at me. I'm carrying coffee like a real professional." Then the elevator stopped on the 12th floor. A tall man entered, perfect suit, dark hair, the kind of posture that said he had never once worried about rent in his life. He didn't even glance at her, just pressed the lobby button and checked his phone. Melody tried to shift and give him space, forgetting she was holding the tray. Her elbow knocked the wall, the tray wobbled, time slowed. 4 cups of coffee soared like missiles. One hit the mirror. One splashed across the polished floor. Another drenched the control panel, and the 4th landed directly on the man's polished Italian leather shoes. Melody froze in horror. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." She dropped to the floor with napkins dabbing frantically. "I'll pay for cleaning, or new ones, or..." "Wow, these probably cost more than my entire apartment." For the first time, the man looked at her. Really looked. His jawline was sharp, his expression unreadable. It was Blake Stanford, and Melody was wiping his shoes like her life depended on it. That night, Melody lay awake replaying the humiliation. She was surely going to be fired. But instead of a termination notice, she received a summons, CEO's office, 9 a.m. Sandra smirked when she saw the memo. "Told you, nobody survives long up there." Heart pounding, Melody entered the minimalist office the next morning. Blake stood by the window, hands clasped behind his back. "Miss Hart," he said without turning. His voice was low even, but it carried weight. "I've read your file." Melody swallowed hard. "Sir, about the elevator." He turned then, silencing her. His gaze wasn't cruel, just piercing. "You know sign language." "Yes, my grandmother." "That was rare, valuable, and brave." He paused, studying her like a puzzle piece that didn't fit the board, but might just create a new picture. Then he said something that left Melody breathless. "I want you transferred, effective immediately. You'll no longer be on reception. You'll work directly under me." Her eyes widened. "Sir, me? I need someone who notices what others overlook. Someone who can bridge worlds." His tone softened by a fraction. "And someone who isn't afraid to spill coffee on my shoes." For the first time, Melody saw it, the ghost of a smile tugging at his lips. Her heart raced. She had walked into Stanford Enterprise as a clumsy, overlooked rookie. But in 2 days, through nothing more than honesty, kindness, and courage, she had caught the attention of a man who could change her entire future. And she had no idea. This was only the beginning. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness is the spark that lights an entire future. For Melody Hart, it was stepping forward to sign a few words for a man no one else understood. For Blake Stanford, it was the first time in months he felt something other than numb indifference to the world. And for both of them, it was only the beginning. By her 3rd day, Melody was certain she'd be fired. She had spilled coffee on the CEO's shoes. Who did that and survived? Yet instead of being escorted out by security, she was summoned to his office. Standing there, cheeks flushed, she expected scolding. Instead, Blake Stanford shocked her with a proposal. "Work for me," he had said, his gaze sharp but not unkind. Melody blinked. "Sir, I'm just a receptionist." "You're not," Blake replied. "You notice things others don't. You don't laugh when someone struggles. You act." Her mind raced. This was surreal. But why me? Blake's lips curved slightly, that rare smile again. Because sometimes the right person doesn't look like the obvious choice. And with that, Melody's life took a turn she could never have predicted. Working directly for Blake was like being dropped into another universe. His office was sleek, minimalist, with floor-to-ceiling windows that made New York look like a kingdom beneath his command. Her first week was brutal. He spoke fast, expected precision, and gave her tasks that seemed impossible. Drafting reports, managing calls, interpreting for partners who were deaf or hard of hearing. More than once she thought she'd fail. But every time, when she doubted herself most, Blake's eyes would flicker with something. Not disappointment, but patience. Like he was testing her limits, not waiting for her to collapse. Sandra, of course, was furious. "How did you land a direct job with him? You, Miss Trip and Spill?" she hissed one afternoon. Melody only smiled faintly. because deep down she didn't understand it either. One rainy evening, Blake insisted Melody leave work early. "You've been here 12 hours, go." She protested, but he was firm, so she stepped into the storm, umbrella flipping inside out in the wind. Taxis sped past, ignoring her soaked figure. Then one finally stopped. The driver rolled down his window. "You look like you've had a long day. Get in. The ride's on me." Melody hesitated. "Sir, I can pay." He waved her off. "I've been driving all day. Sometimes kindness is worth more than money. Sit down before you catch a cold." She smiled, climbing in, warmth flooding her heart. What she didn't know, Blake, on his way home in a black town car, saw the exchange from across the street. He watched her laugh with the driver, her face lit with gratitude and something twisted in his chest. He thought of how many years he had lived without moments like that, without people like her. Blake Stanford had built walls higher than his skyscraper. His parents' messy divorce, ruthless boardroom betrayals, years of being valued only for his wealth and genius. It had all hardened him. But Melody, she chipped away without even trying. She wasn't intimidated by him. She made mistakes, but laughed at herself. She treated the janitors with the same respect as executives. She brought snacks to late-night meetings, insisting everyone eat. She even corrected Blake once, gently pointing out an error in a presentation draft. Instead of firing her, he chuckled. "You're braver than most of my VPs." For the first time in his empire, someone looked at him not as a billionaire, but as a man. Of course, the office buzzed. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Why does the CEO's new assistant get so much attention? She's nobody, just lucky. Or maybe she's something else to him." Melody heard them. They stung. But Blake seemed unfazed. One evening, when she lingered after hours, he looked up from his desk and said quietly, "Do you know why I don't care about gossip, Miss Hart?" She shook her head. "Because people talk about those who matter, and they're talking about you." Her breath caught. His tone wasn't flirtatious, wasn't casual. It was sincere, almost protective. And for the first time, Melody wondered if she was stepping into something far bigger than she imagined. Weeks later, Blake asked her to accompany him to a partnership dinner. "Me? Sir, I don't own a dress fancy enough for—" "I'll take care of it," he said simply. And he did. When she arrived, a box waited on her desk. A midnight blue gown, elegant but simple, paired with shoes that sparkled under the light. She almost cried. At the dinner, she handled conversations with grace, even interpreting for a deaf investor who later shook Blake's hand and said, "Your assistant is the reason I'm signing this deal." Blake looked at Melody then, pride in his eyes. Not for the deal, for her. That night, as the city glowed outside the limo windows, silence stretched between them. Finally, Blake spoke softly. "You've changed this company more in a month than some people have in years." Melody's cheeks warmed. "I've only been myself." "That," Blake said, voice low, "is rarer than you think. But every story has shadows." One morning, Melody arrived to find her desk cleared. Security guards blocked her way. Panic surged. "What's happening?" she demanded. Sandra smirked from the corner. "Guess the boss finally realized you don't belong here." But before Melody could respond, Blake stormed out of his office, eyes blazing. "Who authorized this?" His voice was sharp enough to slice steel. The guards stammered. Sandra paled. Blake's gaze swept the lobby like fire. "Miss Hart is under my direct supervision. If anyone here questions her position again, they'll find themselves unemployed before lunch." Silence. Shock. And for the first time, Melody realized something undeniable. Blake wasn't just protecting an employee, he was protecting her. That night, after everyone left, Melody stayed behind. Blake was still at his desk, staring at the city lights. "Why?" she whispered. He looked up. "Why what? Why are you doing this for me? I'm nobody. I make mistakes. I don't understand." Blake rose, walked slowly toward her, and for once his expression wasn't unreadable. It was raw. "Because you see me, Melody. Not the billionaire, not the CEO, just me." His voice cracked. "Do you know how rare that is?" Her heart thudded. She hadn't realized until that moment. But she felt it too. The pull, the connection. And when he reached for her hand, she didn't pull away. Weeks later, after another long day, Blake insisted on driving her home. But when his sleek car broke down briefly in the rain, a yellow cab pulled up. The driver leaned out. "Need a ride? No charge. You both look tired." Blake chuckled, shaking his head. "No, we can—" But Melody smiled and slid inside. "Sometimes kindness is worth more than money," she whispered, echoing the words that had stayed with her since that first cab ride. Blake followed, sitting beside her. For once, not as the CEO, not as the multimillionaire, but as a man who had finally let someone in. And as the city lights blurred past, his hand found hers. Because sometimes it takes spilled coffee, a forgotten language, and a cab driver's kindness to remind even the richest man alive what truly matters.